Good morning, Foray, and welcome to our last virtual lesson before we're back in class tomorrow. Woohoo! So, I thought before we get back into the swing of things, we're going to do a feature hunt on non-chronological reports. So, let's have a quick recap of what a non-chronological report actually is. They are normally non-fiction text. So you can see the one on the right-hand side there is about sharks. Sharks are real, they're swimming about in the sea, so therefore it is a non-fiction text. They give information about a particular event or subject, so this one is all about sharks. There is nothing in there about dolphins, mermaids, or badgers. It's all about sharks. They are not written in time or chronological order. So we don't have to worry about in a report about what happened first, what happened next. We're just writing paragraphs about the subject or the event that we are writing about. So that's what a non-chronological report is. These are the key features of a non-chronological report. They have to contain facts in order to provide information to the reader. You have to give extra details to those facts so that you give even more information to the reader. So you have your main fact and a bit of extra information about it. We have to use generalizers, which we did in one of the previous lessons, if we don't know the exact time something happened or the exact amount of something. We have to use fronted adverbial phrases to add extra information and also to make it a bit more interesting for the reader to read. We have to use interesting vocabulary because although we are writing a non-fiction report, it still has to hook the reader in, otherwise they're not going to finish reading our report. So we have to make sure we've got that interesting vocabulary. We need to make sure we've got a title. If you don't have a title, such as sharks, no one knows what your no one knows what your non-chronological report is about, and therefore no one's going to read it because they don't know what it is. You need subheadings. Now, we did briefly talk about this before isolation. These are to allow your reader to know the specific paragraph they're about to read. So if you're writing one about sharks and one was about the food that sharks eat, if I was a reader who was really fascinated about what they ate, I wouldn't have to read the entire report. I could go to the specific paragraph that I wanted to read. So that links on to our next one, paragraphs. We need to break our work into different paragraphs. We can't just have one piece of work that starts at the top of the page and finishes at the bottom. Our poor reader will never be able to navigate it. So we need paragraphs definitely for every single thing, every single event inside it. So if it's sharks, for example, we might have a paragraph on what they eat, a paragraph where you might find them, and a paragraph on what their favorite newspaper is. But we also might want a couple of paragraphs in each of those as well. We need to include technical vocabulary. Now, this is a very tricky one, technical vocabulary. Technical vocabulary essentially means any word that is not commonly used, but is specific to what you are talking about. And you cannot talk about it without using that specific word. So, for example, if we going back to the sharks one we looked on a previous page, some of the ones you might use would be things like dorsal fin. It's not a word that we often use, but you can't really talk about sharks and what they look like without using the word dorsal fin. So that would be technical vocabulary. We need to write in the third person. So we're not writing about ourselves. We're writing they type thing. We need to write in the third person because we don't know these people. We're just writing a report about them. We need to use a formal tone. This is a report, not a story. And it's not written to someone we know and have a joke with. It has to be written in a nice formal tone. And in order to help the reader to understand what you're talking about, as I say, a picture says 1,000 words. So one picture can really help the reader to understand something, but we need to add a caption to it. And that caption is a bit of describing what it is. So there's no just point in putting a shark. You need to write underneath maybe what the type of shark is, or at least tell the reader that it is a shark. Okay, so those are the key features that you are going to be hunting for today. So let's go through some of them here. Now, what I've got here is one of our texts all about the Finding Tutankhamun's tomb, and I have identified some of the key features throughout. So, almost unbelievably is a fronted adverbial phrase. You can see there it is at the front of the sentence, and it is giving a bit more information about what's going on. A fact, his tomb was only found in 1922. We need that fact. It's an important piece of information. You need to let the reader know that, so it is just a basic fact, and your report should be full of these. So a subheading, what they found inside. So therefore I know that if I want to read what about they found inside, I go straight to this paragraph here. The technical vocabulary that I have found here is a sarcophagus. You cannot talk about what's in the burial chamber without using the word sarcophagus, so it is technical vocabulary. Third person, they've got the word they there, which means we're talking about in the third person. And the extra detail, it tells us about his sarcophagus. It then says the sarcophagus, in brackets, is a decorated stone coffin. So what it's telling us there is it's telling us the word sarcophagus, but giving us that extra detail about what a sarcophagus is to help out the poor reader who may never have heard of the word sarcophagus before. The next one here, we've got the title. We know that this report is all about Tutankhamun's tomb. And you can see there we've got two different paragraphs, one all about the decoration and one all about the curse of the mummy, split up so we can easily find the bits we need. The next thing I found was a formal tone. The vast majority of historians also believe. Now again, formal tone can be quite a tricky one to find because a lot of the time what we read is written in a formal tone. But if you were talking to your friend, you probably wouldn't say, the vast majority of historians also believe. You might say something like, did you know most historians believe this? So the formal tone is quite a tricky one to find, but it's where you're writing so that you're writing for an audience you don't know rather than someone you do. And when we talk about interesting vocabulary, the curse of the mummy, how exciting does that sound? If I'm reading all about Tutankhamun's tomb and suddenly I come across the phrase, the curse of the mummy, now I'm really interested because you've hooked me in with that exciting vocabulary. Okay, so now it is your turn. I have included in the email lots of different non-chronological reports, including the one I've just shown you, and there are more examples in there. What I would like you to do is go through and identify the key features. Now, what you can do is you can print them off and you can scribble on them. You can underline them in different colors, put arrows to them like I did. You could highlight them different colors. You could print them out and cut them out and stick them into different sections. If you don't have the ability to print them out, don't worry. What you could do is go through them on the screen and then you could just write down a couple of examples for each one of where you found them. So just copy out the word or the phrase from the sentence where you have found it. Okay, so this is a really important step in that because we want to be able to identify these key features and we understand them, it means that when we come to write our own next week or this week, then we get to actually understand what exactly should go into our reports. Okay, right. Have a great day, and I will see you all in person tomorrow. Bye-bye.